All right, so we're a little late to the show, but I wanted to take some time to look at these pictures over myself, come up with my own opinions of them, and share them with you guys. So if you haven't seen yet, BSG actually released some photos of Lighthouse map. Obviously the lighthouse here, you guys can see it. Let me get a little bit smaller so it looks better. What you can see is the lighthouse, obviously, and a bunch of other stuff, and we'll talk about all of that. But these are their first official release photos, not some Instagram photo that you have to screen grab off Nikita's Instagram. So let's dive in and talk about these a little more. So Lysten's going to be here to give his take as well. The first one we'll talk about. We'll start with a villa because we've seen a lot of these photos. There's been like 3 or 4 photos of this on Nikita's Instagram, plus the ones here. I was talking earlier about how much this reminds me of an old school Rainbow Six map. And I think it might have actually been called Villa too. Maybe that's why I keep calling it that. But it was super fun PvP. And I'm kind of hoping that's what this map turns out to be. Is just like this kind of PvP, kind of like Dorms or Resort is.
Yeah, it looks a lot like something that Resort's going to be in general, except you're going to be able to get to the different floors from the outside. So. Oh
yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's going to be.
So talk about flanking. I think that's going to be a big key factor. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be kind of Labs PvP, but on like a shoreline type feel.
Or trying to escape and you yeet yourself out those big front picture windows, just trying to get the fuck away.
That right?
Like I wonder what I'm super curious as to what kind of loot's going to be on it, right? Are we going to see just like a shoreline, kind of meds and some high value loot like they have in Resort? Or is it going to be some kind of like quasi labs? Because it's supposedly a USEC base, and even though this thing says it looks like a USEC banner painted by a scav. Like you'd think USEC would have like official banners and flags and shit they could fucking put up, but this one looks like somebody just spray painted it on a sheet from a wall. But this thing is fortified. It's set up to take on fights. You got fucking barricades and sandbags and razor wire and shit everywhere. So I think the assumption that this is the USEC base that gets talked about in the lore a little bit at Lighthouse, where they evacuate from, I think it makes sense. And we'll look at one of the other pictures later. You pointed out you thought you saw a train, and I hadn't seen that yet. And I think that's super cool. But one of the things that this does is it shows how much terrain difference there is. Like what you were comparing to Reserve?
Yeah, to the Reserve's dome area, right, where there's multiple levels on the rocks and all that. I feel like that's what it's going to be, but a bigger area, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to be so secluded.
And this actually leads to the next picture. I don't know if you guys haven't seen the next one yet. So you got this Untar truck over here, and it goes up these stairs, and these are the same ones right here, right? I'm 99% sure it's the same location. And you've just got this little
bridge.
You've got this little cabin outpost thingy, whatever it is. It's got this super cool looking, that looks like a brick fire pizza oven or something. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. It looks a little small, but like maybe for a little personal pizza.
Make some fucking pizzas and shit. The Russians like pizza? I don't know. But the other thing is I think this is above, where the tunnel is, like on the other side of the map here, over this hill, over the top of the Untar, the tiger. They call them these tiger trucks or something. I can't remember. It's the same ones you have to mark for Peacekeeper, but I think that's shoreline. I think over this ridge is shoreline, and down to the right down here through the trees you can kind of see the water, and maybe that's the beach. Not sure what that is, but I'm wondering if this is like where tunnel is. Like you come through tunnel and you go up the ridge line and you get to this resort. And there, there's not a lot here to talk about on this picture itself, but it just kind of gives you an example of how tight and constrained the fighting is going to be in here, especially if you got to fight like raiders or scavs or something.
Well, I didn't notice it earlier. If you look at the very left hand side of the screen in the bottom there, stairs going down. Mm-hmm. Right, so you're gonna be able to get like behind the resort in like the bushes area. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be, I hate to say it, like campers heaven. Like this area specifically, like if you go underneath this cabin that we're looking at, and like imagine just being underneath there, like you're never gonna be seen.
All right.
Or over here, like
all the rocks and trees and shit. There's a lot of places to get kind of hidden and not seen. I wonder if it's going to be like Reserve, where they introduce the map and then it's like a year before we get any tasks on it, or since this is coming with 12.12 supposedly, or are we going to get daily and weekly tasks and more tasks oriented around Lighthouse?
I can see them putting some like daily tasks. I don't know about like major tasks to where like, you know, Kappa required tasks type deal.
Yeah, like the big ad to reserve this last time around.
Right, exactly. You know, reserve took a long time before they added actual lore quest to it. Like I could see, oh, kill, you know, 5 players in the giant villa, or you know, kill so many scavs in an area, right? Like I can see those coming up. But as for lore in general, I don't see them putting them in right away.
I think one thing I like about this map is it's kind of like this what's the word? I want to say accommodation, but that's not even a real word. You know, it's just this grouping of all these different kinds of maps. Like you've got a little bit of woods, you've got a little bit of reserve, you got a little bit of shoreline with resort. You know, like resort is like where all the plebs go hang out, right? If you're poor, I don't want to say poor, but like if you're not rich, you go there. This is like if you're super rich. This is like the place where like, this is your private beach house.
Bora Bora.
This is like this is where Tom Cruise goes. Over there's where
right.
You know, your everyday person goes. And the next picture is this super fucking nice looking beach house, crazy looking wood attic, telescope, looking out over the water, expensive looking furniture and designer stuff. You know, I don't know what. You know, one of the things always mixes up that I don't think about is how much different, you know, Russia and us are, right? And culture and style and architecture and things. And to me, this just...
Like this could be their cheap shit, or this could be, you know, to them, this is the broke stuff. You know,
right. This is IKEA.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. I don't, you know, it looks fancy to me. It looks cool. And one thing that this tells me, at least what I think about it, is because I tried to find this rock in any of the other pictures and I don't see any other landmarks that you can see. You're looking out over the water. So I'm thinking there's going to be like 3 or 4 or maybe 6 or 10. Who knows? There's going to be a bunch of these like really high end cabins or villas or houses or beach houses, whatever you want to call them, all over the map, because we've seen 3 different versions of it now and they're all 3 different locations. And, you know, if you're kind of wondering what the third one is, it shows up in this dark picture here. And you see down here, this is nothing. I don't believe this is anything we've looked at yet. This house on the stilts. It's obviously not the villa up top. I don't believe it's the one that has a telescope, because I don't see anything in the roof line that matches that other roof line. And
there's no triangle looking
right
to it, yeah.
And the background is completely covered. Like there's no open water space that this could be looking at, right? Like you could think maybe it was this rock here, but if you go back and forth, like this is what I thought at first, is maybe you're looking out at this, but if you go back and look, that's not that at all. It doesn't match it in any way, shape, or form, at least from what I can tell. I mean, maybe the angle's different, but I think one of the crazy things about this is it looks like Lighthouse is on a peninsula. Like I'm looking at it here, obviously it's connected right here, and you got a bunch of structures, and this is kind of like a throwback, Hired Ops or Contract Wars, whatever's got a map called Lighthouse on it, just like Reserve does, or just like they have reserve maps and everything that match up. You know, this kind of matches what I've seen of footage of that with the Lighthouse, but there's no access here, and I don't suspect there's any right here. I think this is just all water behind this thing. So is this the only way on and off that whole peninsula, which it's not small? Like this whole peninsula here is, like if you look at the size of it, what would you think? Maybe a quarter the size of Customs? Like this is a whole factory area, at least, with how big it is. And that's just all locked off on a peninsula by itself.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's such a, I don't want to say bad quality, but like nighttime, and
it's mysterious on purpose. Yeah, it's mysterious on purpose.
Exactly.
And I think one thing that Nikita did say too was that it wasn't going to be Lighthouse might not be accessible on release. So does that mean the inside? Does that mean the whole peninsula? Boy, wouldn't that suck, dude, if they release Lighthouse and you can't even get to the lighthouse?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't put it past them, though.
And so, like, I'm looking at this, right? Like, so is that the Lighthouse map itself type? Like, you know what I mean? Is it?
Well, so the one of the things that's like crazy is when the picture from Nikita on his Instagram, when you look at it, I mean, you can see the lighthouse in the distance, and we know this is the villa because you can see the swimming pool and some of the other stuff, so it lines up. So like you see these green boxes and the blue Terra Group stuff in the swimming pool, right? Well, you go back and let me flip all the way back and I'll look. That's obviously here. You know, you're standing like up here, I think, on this balcony looking down, because there's the pool, there's your blue Terra Group stuff and your green boxes. You know, it's the same thing, but you can swip too far. You can see how far away Lighthouse is. Because that's definitely Lighthouse. Nobody can tell me otherwise that's not Lighthouse in the back all the way back here. That's 100%
the only problem
lighthouse.
is why wouldn't we be able to see the dome from there then?
I think
right?
I think it's just a render thing, because the dome, like if you're looking at it, right, like this is lighthouse, because look how much. Let me go back to the other one. So you see where.
Oh, I guess it could be covered up by that rock there.
Right, like
right
or the perspective you're looking at it from, it's in front of that, right? Like that's what I'm wondering is like the dome could be like right here.
Right.
And it's just a perspective angle, right? So that like you were looking from over here this direction at Lighthouse, and now you're looking more towards an angle where that dome is sitting like right there. You just turn more.
Right.
And we talked about this before, but you pointed this out that was crazy is this kind of looks like a train. And I didn't even think about it, but then you look at this little snaky path right here, and that's what a train track would do. And Nikita's talked about there being a train on the map. So now we've got the lighthouse map that is, like, it's hard to say, right? Like, this is super hard to guess. But if I had to say, I'd say that's at least 600, if not 700 meters away from this villa. So that gives you an example of how far apart this part of the map is from one to another.
So if you look really quick on that, where the train's at, right? Just to the left, right? Like right where your mouse is at. Those look like the tankers, right? The tank, like that right there, right? The black part. It looks like tankers on a train, right? Which are not going down that curvy road, which is, I mean, I see it looping around that tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And right to the left there, to the right of the OFZ shell, it looks like an open train car.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so.
God, that picture sucks so much. I wish it was a better picture. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, one of the big things I also notice is how many trees there are. Like, this is even more heavily wooded than parts of woods are, right? Like, how dense that is.
Right. And then the next thing is, like, do we get access to that? Right. Like, which would be super cool.
And then to round it out, we get the tunnel, which I think everybody unanimously agrees this is on the other side of shoreline. Like, this is the same tunnel that connects you to shoreline, right? Which makes sense because that's how it looks like on the map, the game map where it talks about, where you pick the game you're going to load into. And then this strikes me as the road that goes around. Like when you're extracting on tunnel on shoreline, you can go like from the perspective of shoreline, you go to the left and there's that little side path that goes off and you can hop over the barrier and the chain link fence or the barbed wire and stuff. I think this is that same like wraparound road, like an old school road that used to be there and it's not big enough for traffic. So they blew a tunnel through kind of deal. But you look at this thing and like this looks like you've got easy access all the way up here, right? Like this looks like you're going to be able to run up on top and get all up on top of this shit, which I have to imagine this is an extract. So extract campers galore here.
Right. As if, shoreline wasn't bad enough. There's all kinds of areas up there if you can get access to it.
And maybe this will allow them to put more extracts on, because that's, everybody talks about that. That's one of the big problems with shoreline is the lack of extracts. If you had more extracts, especially if you spawn on Road to Custom side, if you have more extract choices, it reduces how much you can get extract camped, right? And maybe this will allow them to open up a couple of more extracts on that side of the map, now that you've got a connecting map, essentially. But one of the other things I noticed that is really, it's kind of creepy, but I don't even know what it is. There's a little fucking dude standing here. Like, it kind of looks like a mannequin, or like one of the characters they use when you see them doing like rendering of like clothes and they're making the things, like that's the posture they stand in, right? When they're doing armors and clothing and things like that, when you see the cheater screens. But why would that be in the map? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, is that like
yeah. Like maybe it was a mistake and they accidentally left it. I can't imagine it would be a mistake, right? Like,
once we get the map, it's one of the first things I'm going to run to check to see if this little dude's sitting here.
Right.
What the hell? Like, is it a placeholder? Like, you were supposed to have the trader on the map, right? Like, is this the placeholder for the trader? I don't know, dude.
Oh, hey, and he did say that you'd get sniped at trying to get to him.
It's a far fetch. Like, yeah, his four scav bosses are up here. Right. Yeah, his scav bosses are covering and shit, and like this is the placeholder for the in-place thing for the trader. I don't know. It seems like a weird place to have the trader at the tunnel, but I guess it could make sense. I don't know us to explain you would have a model like that in the game. Like if this was interchange and you're looking at mannequins, sure, that makes sense. But why the fuck would you have a mannequin standing at the tunnel?
Right at the beginning of a tunnel where there's just clearly a fucking war or something, blowing up vehicles and like
shit tore apart and
yeah.
Well, and down in the comments, let me know what you guys think this little duder is, what he means, if he means anything.
Yeah, Yeah, it can't be just, you know, some it's clearly got to be something, right? Like they put the detail in, they wouldn't miss that.
Yeah, and it's
so
dead.
it's not
If
like,
you look, it's dead center in the screen, which makes me think that it's intentional, right?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's probably a pretty good pick as to that being the traitor. Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like in customs, right, where the one sniper scav is hidden away on the mountains and trees and shit. Like, imagine trying to shoot 4 of them.
Right.
You know,
right.
I can never find that damn sniper scav to begin with.
And they're not. Imagine if they're sniper scavs like Sturman. They're bosses.
Right. Good sniper scavs. Yeah. Right.
Bang! Well, there's the black screen.
Damn it! I was almost to the traitor. Yeah, for sure. See, I still think though that road to the right, I just.
It's big. Like what? Like who knows? This could be Lighthouse right here for all we know. Right? Like off to the right here. This could be.
Oh, what if? I was gonna say, what if that's off to the peninsula?
Right. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? That you don't see anything on shoreline, but that doesn't really mean much.
Right. The miles might not be the game yet.
Right. It's super hard to tell exactly what is off to the right. And it's cut off just to the point.
I feel like that goes it goes so far. And then if you see the metal railings right to the left-hand side, I can't imagine they'd put those if you're turning left. Right? You can see like it's kind of angling to the right. You know what I mean? Like it's going further. So excuse me. I can't imagine they'd be going to the left with it, like, you know.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But like all of this up on top to the left, all of this up here looks like it's accessible to me. Like this whole section up here up on top, like this doesn't look like it's just nothing. Like this looks all part of the map. There's things up there, you know, just like up here. Like you have to imagine anybody who's tried to hop around woods before on the hills, you know, if you, as easy and as this looks like you could just run up this, if that's not, that might even be a road, right? Like that might be a road right there, but you're going to be able to hop over and climb over all of this crap back in here. You might not be able to get up on top up here, but you're certainly going to be able to get into these rocks and everything else.
Right.
All right.
I mean, they put a lot of detail into that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's kind of the recap there, guys. Let us know what you think. If we screwed anything up or we had anything silly, by all means, let us know. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next video.